Welcome to the #1 spot health and wellness practitioners go to double their current income and turn their 10-hour work day into a 10-hour work week. Join us as we dive into the tips, tools, and tech you need to create a life and practice on your own terms. More freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, and of course, funds. It's time to build your online practice. And I'm your host, Michelle Rogers, also known as The Wealthy Woman. Be sure to subscribe for your weekly dose of education, inspiration, and action. Let's get started. So let's dive in. Today's topic is uncovering the power within. So really fear versus intuition. I don't know about you, but this has been in my past a constant battle of like, oh my God, am I scared or am I like just self-sabotaging? Like I have these decisions I need to make. I want to move forward. I have these dreams, these visions, all these things, but like I just, I feel like I can't move forward because I can't tell, is this really in alignment or is this like genuine? I shouldn't do this, right? So if this is resonating, I'm stoked you're watching this, but basically I'm going to show you how I've broken free of the fear cycle and how I practice trusting my intuition for every decision in my life and my business. So this isn't really just for your online practice, right? This is like day-to-day life and living. But the goal is to help you actually move forward so that you can reach your goal and feel stuck and stagnant in this like cycle of uncertainty. So also, if this is exciting for you, there's going to be something I'm going to talk about towards the end of this masterclass. So if you like this masterclass, you're most definitely going to love what I'm going to share with you towards the end. So don't miss it. If you're new to my world, I'm Michelle, and what is my background? I feel like I always tell my story. I don't want to tell it too long, but basically my background's in naturopathic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, and functional diagnostic nutrition. I graduated from Bastyr University back in 2012. I had a primary care insurance paradigm practice for about 4 years, 200 patients, living the dream, but I was miserable, exhausted, spread thin, like still feeling like I was living paycheck to paycheck and just like really unfulfilled in how I was working with people and like just feeling like my hands were tied behind my back and everything. And so anyways, I ditched my like insurance paradigm practice, went cash-based for a couple years, which solved a little bit of the issue, but there was just still something missing, right? It was like, it's okay. I was working with people with autoimmunity and like hormonal imbalances. That's my own health history, which we tend to do as practitioners. But yeah, I did that for another couple years. And then I just knew there was something else. And I dove head first into the online space in 2018 when like no one was doing this. There was no guidelines. Like people were like, colleagues were like angry at me that I was doing this. They're like, you can't do that, and I'm just like, why not? So anyway, long story short, I ended up dropping my license. I've been, in the online space since 2018. I've seen a lot. Obviously, we've seen a huge influx just with what happened in 2020 and just everybody wanting to move in the online space. And so I feel so fortunate to have had that experience early on and to be able to guide practitioners into this way of doing life and business and practicing, because it has really been transformational for my own life. And like, literally I tell people, I'm like, I like, no one could pay me any amount of money to go back into like a brick and mortar, especially not with like insurance paradigm and just like doing things in that way. Like I could never imagine going back there. And so I always joke with people too, like, I swear I was a practitioner for like a decade just so I could be able to help practitioners in this capacity. So this is really like my purpose and my passion now is really helping practitioners transition into the online space and create a life with more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment, because I believe that we are all like deserving of that and capable of that. And it really just takes, the right skill set, the right support, the right guidance. And so, yeah, that's kind of my story in a nutshell. And as most of you probably agree, if you're in this space, at least, when our body has the right information, instructions, environment to heal, that's what it does best, is it heals. It's taking away the obstacles to cure, right? And I think that's true for us as practitioners too, because when we're stuck and stagnant in an unfulfilling position, that is an obstacle to cure, as we call it in naturopathic medicine, right? Like that's a hindrance to us actually obtaining optimal health. And so I feel like it's almost our what is the word I'm looking for? Like it's our responsibility almost to like really demonstrate and show up in the best possible way that we can in all areas of our life, because we really are demonstrating that to our clients and our patients, right? Like we need to walk the talk. And so yeah, if that's resonating, I encourage you to sit with that and see how it feels. But I also believe that we have the capacity to change the world, right? It's like when we are fulfilled mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, we're able to show up in a much better, more effective, more productive way that affects every single person that we come into contact with, whether it's our family, our friends, our parents, our kids, like our community, right? Our level of service. And that the way that we show up just affects it's a ripple effect, right? It affects everybody around us. That affects them and how they interact. Like it's this ongoing thing. And I truly believe that we have the capacity to change the world. So that is my soapbox. And just like a quick little trip down memory lane, through the process back in 2018. Holy smokes, I did a lot of weird stuff. Some of this is like when I was still in practice. I've always been a fan of functional lab analysis. It's been in my life for over a decade now. Freaking love it. But I went down the whole road where it's like I need to have my stethoscope and my white coat, and like these things like define who I am and what I do. And it's just I've done the podcasting thing. I've done all sorts of things. And, I've just really come into my own as far as like how I want to practice and what I've seen work for not just myself, but like 90 other practitioners at this point. And through the process, of course, I ended up doing some of the most potent things correctly, of course, with the right mentors, the right coaches, like the right people helping me along the way. And so after over 11 years now, I have learned a lot of things. I've discovered a lot of things. I know how to address client objections when it comes to investments, right? Like how to help them get it, like the value, right? What your ideal client really, really wants and what they're going to pay for, right? What they're going to actually invest in. Why most practices fail, especially virtual practices, how to add immense value to your services and create effortless yes sales, the core functional lab tests that make the most impact and get reliable results, and the main strategy a lot of practitioners in the online space are missing. So there's a lot that I have to share with you. And so these master classes are really created in such a way as giving you a little glimpse into, how my mind works and what we're doing here, and how you can kind of take these tools, these resources, these perspectives, these philosophies into your online practice and hopefully help you create the life of your dreams, really. Okay. So, of course, as I've been kind of hinting, I discovered this a very long and hard way. Like the first 6 months to a year, I was struggling. Like I said, there was no one in the online space. I had to figure all this stuff out on my own. And it was very challenging, but you're tuning in here. You're smart. You're going to get to collapse time and take the easier route if you choose to, of course, right? So if you're feeling stuck, maybe you're feeling trapped in a brick and mortar practice tied to insurance companies, unsure how to shift into the online space. Maybe you're feeling indecisive, fear and uncertainty might be swimming around, making the wrong decision, like that fear of like, oh my God, am I going to make the wrong decision? Keeping you stuck. I know I have definitely been there, and I can catch myself in that still to this day, but we're sharing some tools today that are going to help decrease the frequency and intensity of that. But it might be weighing you down. It might keep you paralyzed from making moves in general, right? And then dissatisfaction. So maybe you're dreaming of more freedom, more flexibility, more fulfillment, because what you're doing right now just isn't really cutting it, probably in more ways than one. Okay, so if this sounds like you, I've got you covered. This is my specialty, and this is what I love doing. So again, as questions come up, please don't hesitate to ask. This is what I love doing and teaching. My hope for you is that after this masterclass, you're going to have more confidence. You're going to realize that you possess the wisdom and intuition needed to make confident decisions on this journey. You're going to have more courage, right, to step into the unknown and embrace opportunities for growth and transformation. And then more expertise in this area with with your body, like how it feels. So being able to really distinguish between fear and intuition, which will help guide you towards making more aligned choices moving forward. And like I said, this could be in business, could be in your life, could be in your relationship, could be in anything at all. Um, Now, what we're gonna basically explore in this evening's masterclass is recognizing the subtle differences between fear and intuition, trusting your inner wisdom for making confident decision making possible, basically, embracing opportunities for growth and transformation, and leveraging your intuition as a guiding force. So, your intuition is like a muscle, right? The more you use it, the stronger it becomes, right? And this is, I don't know who said this, but I know I've heard it a ton of times. And it's like the more you use it, you have that like feedback of like, oh, yes, okay, that was correct. Or like, oh, that did turn out right. Or that did feel really awesome. Or like, wow, that really did move the needle for me. That feedback is just going to strengthen your ability to tap into that. And we're going to talk more about that in this masterclass. So let's understand fear versus intuition. Now, their role in decision making, right? Fear is an innate and powerful human emotion, right? It plays a significant role in our decision making process. It's a primal response that's evolved to protect us from harm, whether physical or psychological, whether it's like real, like a real threat, or a perceived threat, right? Just because we feel fear doesn't mean that there's actually a threat involved. In the context of decision making, fear often comes up when we face uncertainty, potential risks, or stepping outside of our comfort zone. But what we always kind of forget conveniently is that stepping outside of our comfort zone is supposed to feel uncomfortable, right? That's literally that's literally the definition of stepping outside your comfort zone. Like it's uncomfortable, right? And the body, the brain, the nervous system is always like, no, 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 no. Don't do that. Like you're gonna die. Right? Anytime we step out of our comfort zone, any freaking time. And so it's just a matter of like acknowledging that. We'll get more into this. So, understanding the underlying mechanism of fear is really, really crucial because it can either serve as a helpful signal, right? Promoting us to take precautions, or as a paralyzing force preventing us from pursuing our goals and our dreams, right? So fear-driven decisions often come from a place of insecurity, scarcity, or a need for external validation, right? Insecurity, scarcity, or a need for an external validation. These decisions are typically aimed at avoiding discomfort, perceived risks, or the fear of failure, right? While they may provide temporary relief, they often result in long-term regret and missed opportunities, right? And so it's like this is avoidant behavior. I know this pattern very well, right? But it's like, okay, like these types of decisions, fear-based decisions, are typically aimed at avoiding discomfort, perceived risks, or fear of failure. Okay. In contrast, intuitive choices emerge from a deep connection with our inner selves and align with our authentic desires and values. These choices are not swayed by external pressures, right? The external validation, external pressures, or societal expectations. These are like an innate part of you. Okay. Instead, they resonate with our true purpose and aspirations. This awareness empowers us to make decisions that are in alignment with our authentic selves, leading to greater fulfillment and purpose. Okay. So let's talk about some real life examples of like how this might show up. Career transition, right? Maybe you're a practitioner who has spent years in a traditional clinical setting. You've built a somewhat stable, secure, safe, all in quotes, right? We've seen how that can be disrupted very easily, right, over the past few years. But it's unfulfilling, okay? So your authentic desire there is like, I want something different. I'm unfulfilled. There's a desire for fulfillment in the work that you're doing. That's like your authentic self saying, hey, like, this isn't it, right? There's something else. There's something better. There's something more aligned out there. Lately, you've been contemplating transitioning to an online practice, which excites you, right? Because there's that inner part of you, that authentic self that's like, yeah, that could be it, right? But immediately it triggers feelings of like fear and anxiety, right? Because you've got that insecurity and that discomfort that comes in. Okay. Another example might be launching a new program. So maybe you've developed a unique health and wellness program. You're passionate about sharing with your ideal clients, right? There's that aspiration, there's that excitement, there's the like, oh my gosh, that alignment of like, I'm helping people. I want to help people. I want to create a bigger impact and income, right? So you're excited to share it with the world, but fear and anxiety creep in as you contemplate launching it, right? You're worried about how it's going to be received, whether it's going to be successful, and whether or not you're making the right choice. So there we've got the external validation, the fear of failure, right? There's like a constriction that's happening there. Okay. Another example, wait, did I do 2 launching? Oh man, I forgot to change the, okay, sorry, not launching a new program, but embracing technology. That should be the title of this one. So maybe you found yourself needing to embrace technology and social media more, right? Especially if you're wanting to transition into the online practice. This aids your purpose and passion, right? This is like a vehicle to help really fulfill your expression and your authentic desire to, again, create more impact and income, right? Initially, maybe you feel like there's a resistance to this change. Maybe you fear that you won't be able to adapt or that it's going to like disrupt your established routines. Plus, a lot of us who are more like holistic, naturopathic, we understand the potential damaging effects of too much social media, right? So it's all about boundaries and really showing up in an authentic, aligned way for you. But there's the discomfort again, the perceived risk, right? So, last one here, stepping into leadership. So, you might want to become this leader in your field, right? Maybe doing public speaking engagements or writing a book or really getting out there in a big, big way. And maybe, yeah, like starting your own wellness movement. Like, just think like big, 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 right? So there's this aspiration, there's this alignment, there's this looking for this future. You feel like there's this piece of you inside of you that's like, yes, like that is my destiny. That is really where I want to be headed. So these goals can be both exhilarating and intimidating, right? There's the fear of the unknown, self-doubt, concerns about how you're going to be perceived. All of that stuff might start to come up, right? That's where the external validation, the fear of failure, imposter syndrome, all of that stuff bubbles to the surface. So, like, how do we tell the actual difference between the two, right? So we've got fear. So fear often, at least in my body, so keep in mind this is like my experience that I'm sharing with you. Fear often feels like a tightness or like a constriction around my heart area. It's a sense of feeling kind of held back, smaller, more condensed, or like like a denser sensation. As if like invisible chains are kind of like preventing you from moving forward. You might notice a heightened sense of anxiety, uncertainty, even a desire to like avoid the decision altogether or avoid the situation. Fear tends to focus on potential negatives and worst case scenarios, casting a shadow of doubt. If you're experiencing these sensations and thoughts, it's likely that fear is at play here, right? Taryn says, still working on that balance between engaging on social media without draining myself by spending too much time on it. Yeah, all about time blocks. Being like, okay, I've got 30 minutes. I'm going to hop into my business account. I personally, I only have a business account. But I'm going to hop in. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to respond to messages, or I'm going to post the thing or whatever, or I'm going to do some research and then going off and just like not scroll. Like I don't scroll on social media. Like it's very like it's purpose driven. So I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of how I approach it. Intuition, on the other hand, feels to me again really expansive and like boundless, like limitless. And it's kind of this up and out sensation. It's that deep sense of knowing that oftentimes defies logic. And I tend to be a very like left-brained individual, very logical. I'm a Capricorn, I'm like da 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 da. And so sometimes I can second guess. Sometimes it's been a habit. I've been training myself over the past couple years specifically on this. But just tapping into me and like, oh yeah, like that's my brain. Like no, like, and really tapping into my intuitive self because I have a very, very strong intuition. But you may experience a subtle but powerful pull towards a particular choice or a direction, right? It tends to align with your authentic desires and purpose, right? It often brings a sense of calm, even in the face of uncertainty. So you may be sitting there and you're like, man, this seems like a really crazy decision, but like I feel good about it. Like I feel calm about it, even though it's gonna disrupt some stuff, you know? Um, and if you're feeling this sense of expansion, this inner knowing, it's very likely that your intuition is guiding you. The thing that can get kind of confusing that I found is that they both kind of radiate from the same place sometimes. Like for me, sometimes I've learned to distinguish now that my intuition's a little bit lower than my fear response. I'm looking down because I'm like tapping into it. Um, but like my fear tends to be up here, and there can be like this anxiety slash an excitement pendulum going on because those two feel very similar to me, whereas my intuition's like a little bit lower and like it's hard to sometimes for me to like verbalize it. It's like lower and just like more grounded, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. um, Taryn says how I felt signing up for the Wealth Academy. Yay! That's incredible. Yes, it's amazing. Exactly. That's how I would hope you would feel. So yeah, there's just like a distinction there. And like I said, and like the quote at the very beginning of this, it's like it's something that as you practice it, it'll become like more of like an intimate relationship that you have with it. But I would love to. We're going to do an experiential actually in just a moment. But one of the things I want to emphasize here is that it's not uncommon at all for us to feel fear first, because a lot of times that fear is the reaction, right? It's like the immediate reaction instead of the like grounded response. Okay. So once we acknowledge that fear of like, oh yeah, like, thank you, body, thanks, nervous system, like for trying to protect me. I really appreciate you and the work that you do and the work that you've done throughout my life. And like, this is my next step. Like, this is it. This is in alignment with me. Right. So once you acknowledge that fear, then it really, in my experience, makes space for your intuition to come online. And you might sense, like, you might have that fear and like have that initial, like, ugh, ugh. And then as it fades, then you're like, yeah, no, like, I shouldn't do this. This doesn't feel right. But on the other hand, you might be like, actually, this is my next step. Actually, this is where I want to go. This is how I want to progress. Right. So I want to set up a little experiential for a second. Let me start some music. If you guys are comfortable, you're welcome to. Let me stop share for a sec. If you guys are comfortable, you're welcome to kind of close your eyes and take a couple deep breaths. Let me get some music going on here because I want you to like feel this because um put it down a little bit. I just started some music, but let me share, make sure I can share. Here, here we go. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to share this and then share sound and then hopefully it's fine. Okay. I think that stopped. Hang on one sec. Share screen. I think I did turn off voice isolation. Sorry, these new like Zoom updates are super weird. Oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to share sound. Dang it! All right, we'll make it work. Let me try one other thing real quick. Actually, I know what we'll do. We'll share sound. Let me see. Well, let's hope it works. You don't need to see the slides for this one. Share audio, share. All right, this might. I can't tell. Can you guys hear anything on your end? Any music? Could be a no. I can't tell, honestly. All right, we're just gonna go with it. If you can't, no music. All right, I'm giving up, you guys. I'm giving up. Let me stop share. There was like a new Zoom update that happened. Like literally as I was starting this call, and whenever that happens, and why do Zoom updates have to happen at the beginning of your calls? I don't know. Anywho, you can turn on your own music. You can just listen to my voice, whatever you like. It's totally up to you. I love music, so I try to listen to it all the time. But anywho, so let's go ahead and have a little experiential here. So again, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, I definitely recommend it. If not, totally okay as well. Just kind of like ground yourself, quiet yourself, center yourself, take a couple deep breaths. Just kind of get like in your body, maybe shake off the day a little bit. And what I want you to do is visualize or think about a decision that you're wanting to make. Could be a super big decision or it could be a smaller one. Sometimes when it comes to like these intuitive processes, and as I was kind of training my intuition, I would start with something a little bit smaller, like less impactful, like making choices just like to kind of get the wheels going. But just pick any decision. It could be as simple as like, what are you going to eat for breakfast tomorrow or something? Anything. It could be anything. Or it could be a major life decision, right? So just think of anything, any decision that you're wanting to make in this season of your life, and imagine the path before you related to that decision, full of opportunities and possibilities and even potential challenges and obstacles. Now, focus your attention on your heart area, or could even be like your solar plexus, like your upper gut, your upper stomach area, whichever area you prefer. But picture the process of making the actual decision, like viscerally feel that choice being made, whether it's a yes or whether it's a no or whether it's a whatever, whatever your fill in the blank choice is. Just choose it and like own it, like feel it, like let it fill your entire body. Just like tap into that for a second. And of course, you don't have to actually make this choice, right? We're just having an experiential right now. So just like playing, we're just playing around. Like, what would it feel like if I chose this? Or what would it feel like if I chose that, right? So just pick a choice. And as you think about this choice, this decision, notice any physical sensations that arise in your body. Again, could be chest area, it could be your gut area. You might notice your sensations in a completely different area, and that's also totally okay. These are just really common areas, and they're the ones that I'm like moving energy and my body's like, I'm like burping. I'm sorry. Um, just notice like these two areas are just like the main ones that I've worked with. But again, like I said, like you might feel yours in a completely different area, and that is 100% correct for you. So don't think it has to be these areas. But check in, do you feel like a collapse? Do you feel a tightening? Do you feel a stuckness, a density, a pressure, constriction? Just pay attention and just see what comes up. And if it is uncomfortable, just we don't have to stay here long at all. But just take like a mental note of how it feels for you. And remember that, fear does often bring discomfort, doubt, anxiety. So let's move on from there. So once we've acknowledged that, if it's present, try to let it go, dissolve, disappear, just kind of like shake it off. And ask if there is anything underneath. Is there anything underneath that sensation, or does that sensation linger? If there's a sensation underneath, notice what might be there. It might be in the same place, might be in a different location. But this time I want you to ask yourself or check in with your body, are you feeling a sense of expansion, lightness, openness? Sometimes it feels like up and out. Sometimes it can still have like some of those pings of anxiety, like kind of sparkles in my experience. But take note of how these sensations make you feel. Remember that intuition tends to bring a sense of calm, confidence, alignment, sometimes excitement. And this is why I tell people too, I'm like, and this was something one of my mentors told me a long time ago, a lot of times that intuitive choice or like the right decision, which I don't think there's ever a right decision, but the intuitive choice a lot of times feels scary and exciting. There's like a little ping of anxiety or like fear of like, oh my God, but also like, yes, this is it. And I know I'm stepping into the unknown. I know I'm like stepping in outside of my comfort zone, right? So just pause and kind of check in with those sensations there. And that's what I have for you for the experiential. So if you had your eyes closed, you can open them up. You can come back, say hi. If you want to share a word that encompasses your experience, or if you've done this kind of work before, or if you found anything surprising or had any like aha moments or anything at all, if you want to share in the comments, that'd be cool. But you can use this kind of exercise. You can come back, you can watch the replay, or you can, just kind of have your own experience with this. And you can use it to create more awareness, to really start understanding like, oh yeah, my body's speaking to me, right? And start helping with your process, your decision-making process. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again to finish things out. And like that. Okay. So I am going to be wrapping things up, but I wanted to share just because I love sharing wins and I'm terrible at sharing wins. But we're always getting like awesome like comments and everything inside of our Wealth Academy community. And so just some more recent ones that we've had are here, just like Janet's an MD. And she is like killing it. She's crushing it. She's doing so awesome. So just having like sales calls, she's at 10K for her package. Stephanie's got her first beta client. Casey's filling up her group program. Carla's here. Oops, like anything. Carla's having like awesome like mindset shifts and realizations. But that is all I have. I hope this masterclass was helpful, insightful, gave you some additional confidence, courage, and that you feel empowered with your decision-making process. So I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day, evening, morning, week, month, all of the things, wherever you are and whenever you're watching this. But anywho, I thank you so much for tuning in, and I will chat with you soon. Bye.
All right, that's a wrap for today. If you want the exact breakdown of how I help practitioners go from their first 5K to consistent 50K months with just 2 offers, 10 hours per week, and an audience of less than 500 people, be sure to click the link in the podcast description or head to wealthywoman.co/breakdown. To make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe. And for daily online practice insights, follow me on Instagram at wealthywoman.co. Let's create your life of wealth full of abundance, purpose, health, wealth, and joy.